Who is the most evil female character in film history?
Where's Reagan?
In here with us.
Who was the most popular female villain of the 1970s? And are any of those based on real people?
Yes, that is correct.
Welcome to Do You Remember? I am your host, Nostalgic Nick. The 1970s was a turbulent time in America. The Vietnam War raged on, and an oil embargo caused gas prices to skyrocket from 38 cents to over 55 cents per gallon.
I believe primarily it's manufactured, so the industry can get higher prices for their product.
Women in the real world were demanding equal rights, but thankfully there's never been any discrimination when it comes to cinematic villainy.
You deserve all the credit, and you'll get all the credit, I promise.
So come on and let's discuss our favorite female villains of the 1970s. I think this might be our most evil video yet.
I'm not afraid.
Our team at Do You Remember exclusively covers the best music, movies, and TV from our favorite decades, so please get in the comments section and give us any feedback you might have. If we forgot a great female villain of the 1970s, that's where you tell us.
Are you trying to say you don't love me anymore?
If you enjoy the video, hit the thumbs up icon, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you can easily find our latest videos. But now, without further ado, here are the most malevolent mademoiselles of the me decade. Let's go. Margaret White. So Piper Laurie actually came out of retirement to portray the delusional religious matriarch in Carrie.
Say it.
No, Mama!
Eve was weak.
No!
Eve was weak.
No!
Eve was weak.
Mrs. White is completely terrifying to anyone who grew up with strict or abusive parents, or heck, parents at all.
They're all gonna laugh at you.
Look at
It's
me.
not too late.
And the role earned Laurie an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. But she found the character and dialogue so humorous that she frequently cracked up between takes.
He said, well, you know, Brian De Palma has a comedic approach to just about everything he does.
The famed director Brian De Palma once even had to take her aside and remind her they were shooting a horror film, not a black comedy. Now, it's kind of known that Stephen King has often been pretty critical of the film adaptations of his novels, but he did enjoy the film's ending better than his own. Stephen King was still relatively unknown when Carrie was released, and his name was even misspelled with a V instead of a PH in the first official trailer. Wendy Chase. In Campus Terror, the Season 2 finale of the Hardy Boys' Nancy Drew Mysteries, Frank and Joe head to a college campus to investigate the abductions of 4 co-eds. During their investigation, the boys encounter Joe's old flame, Wendy.
Well, the agency must have some ideas, even if they don't have a definite lead.
Well, they think it's a psycho.
We soon learn that Wendy, who was nearly abducted herself, has a split personality and was behind the abductions all along. When Joe figures it out, Wendy's evil alter ego, Gwen, holds him at gunpoint and reveals her contempt for sweet and perfect girls.
Why did you kidnap the other girls?
Because they're like her.
So Joe has to convince Wendy to fight back against Gwen, and Wendy is then shipped off to a mental hospital, where she gets rid of Gwen for good. Or does she? Cassandra Luring. In the Wonder Woman episode Time Bomb, Joan Van Ark and her Knots Landing husband, Ted Shackelford, are time-traveling scientists from the year 2155. Unfortunately, Cassandra is intent on using the technology for personal gain, no matter how it alters the course of history.
I'm about to make all my knowledge of the 20th century pay off.
First, after traveling to the past to make a fortune with insider trading, her next plan is to develop an alternative fuel that scientists in the 1970s didn't have the technology to develop safely.
A few rocks like that could light cities from coast to coast.
More like the entire world.
Thank goodness Wonder Woman comes to the rescue, of course, and Cassandra is arrested and returned to the future to face her consequences. Naomi. In The Spy Who Loved Me, Caroline Munro plays Naomi, the personal helicopter pilot to shipping magnate Carl Stromberg. During the boat trip to Atlantis, James Bond and Naomi playfully flirt with one another, making Anya jealous.
What a handsome craft. Such lovely lines.
But Stromberg uncovers the true identities of 00 and Agent XXX, and soon dispatches Jaws and several of his henchmen to eliminate them. While our heroes are on the run, they also re-encounter Naomi, who takes a moment to pull alongside the car in her chopper and wink at them before she resumes her shooting. Naomi pursues Bond until he drives off a pier and submerges. Naomi hovers overhead, smiling victoriously, but unbeknownst to her, the Lotus is amphibious and includes a few optional extras. Wet Nellie, the prop vehicle used for the film, was shipped off to storage in Long Island after production wrapped. And then it was rediscovered over a decade later by someone who bought the unclaimed locker's contents for $100. The modified Lotus Esprit S1 was eventually restored and sold to Elon Musk at a 2013 auction for £550,000. Veruca Salt. In Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Charlie and Grandpa Joe are accompanied on their factory tour by the other winners, including the greedy, spoiled brat Veruca Salt.
I want to go in first before anybody else.
Anything you say, sweetheart.
Now Veruca has her wealthy father wrapped around her finger, and the workers at his peanut shelling factory unwrap thousands of Wonka bars to find that golden ticket for his very demanding daughter.
They've been shelling flaming chocolate bars from dawn to dusk.
Make 'em work nights.
Veruca is rude to everyone, brags nonstop about her family fortune, and even crosses her fingers when the children are sworn to secrecy about the soon-to-be-released everlasting gobstopper.
Hey, she's got two. I want another one. Stop squawking, you twit.
Everybody has had one.
Veruca expects her father to buy her everything she sees, including the special geese that laid the golden Easter eggs.
I want one. I want a golden goose. Gooses. Geeses.
But while Mr. Wonka explains that the geese are not for sale, Veruca climbs onto that scale that drops her into a garbage chute, just like all the other bad eggs. Willow. In The Wicker Man, Sergeant Howie gets stonewalled by the pagan locals when he travels to the small Scottish island in search of a missing girl.
Well, thank you for your help.
The film's US re-release was scheduled for November 1978 but was pushed to January of the following year because the infamous Jonestown Massacre happened that same month. Rod Stewart was dating Britt Ekland at the time of the film's release and wasn't happy to learn about her nude scene. But Rod had nothing to worry about because it wasn't actually Britt's bottom. Ekland was pregnant while filming and only agreed to shoot her nude scenes from the waist up. So a bum double was secretly used after Ekland left the set. However, she was actually furious when she found out. Now, it's safe to say that Willow's dance is among the film's most frequently paused and replayed scenes, and it took over 13 hours to shoot. Associate musical director Gary Carpenter was responsible for covering and uncovering Ekland with a towel between takes, and told one interviewer, quote, "It's the weirdest job I've ever had, but certainly not the most unpleasant."
A man who would come here of his own free will. A man who has come here with the power of a king.
Evelyn Draper.
Surprise.
Experts have often claimed that certain types of music makes listeners aggressive and more prone to violence, particularly smooth jazz. In Clint Eastwood's directorial debut, Play Misty for Me, Jessica Walter portrays an obsessive fan who doesn't appreciate being rejected and begins stalking her favorite disc jockey.
You're nothing! You're not even good in bed! I just felt sorry for you, that's all!
The 1987 hit Fatal Attraction is considered an unofficial remake of this film, and Clint Eastwood reportedly had a similar experience with an ex-girlfriend about 21 years before the filming began. The great Jessica Walter passed away in 2021 at the age of 80 and continued playing villainous roles for the rest of her life, including the constantly scheming but absolutely hilarious Lucille Bluth in Arrested Development.
I love all my children equally. I don't care for Joe.
And the equally Machiavellian Mallory Archer in the FX animated series Archer. Princess Ardala.
Where is Buck Rogers?
He chose to decline your invitation, Princess.
It was hardly an invitation, Doctor.
In the pilot episode of Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, we first meet the draconian Princess Ardala, who has a magical orbital weapon and a huge crush on our hero.
Why couldn't I have met you sooner, Buck Rogers?
Well, we got plenty of time, don't we?
Pamela Hensley portrays the princess, who believes Captain Rogers is the most genetically perfect male in the galaxy and wants him as her consort. In one episode, she even forces him into a marriage aboard her flagship, which he narrowly escapes. Buck later forms an uneasy alliance with the princess to defeat the evil witch Zarina, portrayed by special guest star Julie Newmar. But Princess Ardala was one of the most treacherous villains from the show's first season. I think the most treacherous villain for season 2 was incoming executive producer John Mantley, who took over after a writer's strike and made numerous unpopular changes that caused ratings to decline rapidly. Mantley wrote The Princess and several other series regulars off the show, which was canceled for good after 11 episodes without even an official finale. Pamela Voorhees.
Well, I'm Mrs. Voorhees.
The Friday the 13th universe includes 12 movies, a television show, video games, and other merchandise, and Jason has terrified people for decades. But hey, we gotta give credit where credit is due. Mrs. Voorhees does most of the work in the series' first installment.
Kill her, Mommy. Kill her. Don't let her live.
Our good friend Norman Bates once told us that a boy's best friend is his mother, and Jason's mom had a bone to pick with the counselors at Camp Crystal Lake after they let her son drown on their watch. But Betsy Palmer hated the script and only took the role because she desperately needed a new car. Now, Palmer eventually warmed to the film and agreed to numerous interviews and convention appearances to support the franchise. But she was also quick to tell fans that she had no idea who this character in the hockey mask was, since her son Jason drowned in 1957. But did he really drown, Pamela? I mean, did he really? Reagan McNeil.
Well, then let's introduce ourselves. I'm Damien Karras. And I'm the devil. Now kindly undo these straps.
The infamous crucifix scene from The Exorcist was filmed on Linda Blair's 14th birthday. And Max von Sydow was so shocked the first time she spoke as the foul-mouthed Pazuzu that he actually forgot his lines.
Keep it away. Oh, it burns. It burns.
Oscar winner Mercedes McCambridge voiced the demon and insisted on swallowing raw eggs and chain smoking to alter her vocalizations. Funny enough, that's also what I do at Do You Remember to make sure I'm speaking clearly. Mercedes was also bound to a chair with pieces of a torn sheet to simulate the sound of a demon struggling against its restraints. Director William Friedkin frequently put his actors' safety and comfort at risk, but admitted that he was terrified to see the extremes that McCambridge put herself through, all for the sake of authenticity. Linda Blair received an Oscar nod for Best Actress in a Supporting Role before McCambridge's vocal overdubbing was widely known. The nomination was never officially withdrawn, but the ensuing controversy exercised Blair's chances of winning. Warner Brothers actually had to hire bodyguards to protect Blair and her family after they received constant threats from religious zealots who believed the film glorified Satan. Nurse Ratched.
I think we might ease it down a little bit so maybe the boys didn't have to shout.
We have a lot of old men on this ward who couldn't hear the music if we turned it lower. Your hand is staining my window.
Speaking of glorifying Satan, Louise Fletcher confirmed that Nurse Ratched's 40s hairstyle looked like devil horns on purpose. At screenings of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, many viewers cheered when McMurphy attacked the sadistic head nurse who's drunk with power and quick to revolve privileges when patients act out. She also has no qualms about using their mental weaknesses against them. Cuckoo's Nest was the second film ever to win a Grand Slam at the Academy Awards, including a Best Actress win for Fletcher. But she claimed she was so disturbed by her own performance that she couldn't watch the film for years. Fletcher also said she was miserable during filming, watching the other cast members laughing and having fun while she had to be so cold and heartless. But Louise Fletcher, your performance is incredible, and that film is a top 5 film in my book forever. Alright, so how did we do? Those were our favorite female villains of the 1970s, but now we really need to hear from you. Which one of these devilish dames was your favorite? Which one the cruelest and most sadistic? But most importantly, did we leave out your favorite female villain from the 1970s? Because if so, please tell us in the comment section below. We love to read your feedback, because after all, we're nothing without you. As always, drop any suggestions for future videos, and please hit that thumbs up icon if you enjoyed the content. Subscribe to the channel so we can notify you when we drop a video. But most importantly, from my entire team here at Do You Remember, we want to thank you so much for watching and have a great, not spooky day.